What's up everyone, I'm Eldridge, and this is not actually the healer discussion video that I promised. So I'm gonna give you a tiny quick history. I started this video last week already after I had seen the healer reveal. I immediately pretty much started on thinking about what I want to talk about in a video dedicated to the healing system and the healers. Because to me it is probably the weirdest and most controversial system in the game, and I felt that it was important to level some criticism from actual healer players on this topic. Because I'm not a healer player, so my opinions, I think, aren't actually that important when it comes to the healing system, because I'm not gonna have that much of an interaction with it. All I really care about is that the healing is really strong, so that fights are generally a little bit longer. And so I went out and talked to a bunch of the healers that I got to know over the years playing MMORPGs, and I presented the system to them and asked their opinion. And then I turned that into a video. Then I read a discussion on the backer forum, which had some interesting ideas that I wanted to incorporate, and so I did. And I went through a couple of iterations with this video. Actually, I've remade the voiceover for the healing discussion 4 times, and I've done quite a bit of searching through all the stuff that's been revealed about Camelot Unchained so far. And now today I just wanted to cut it together, edit it, and then load it up on YouTube and be done with it. But I realized that I can't actually make the video the way I wanted to, because a few things that I am talking about in the video, a few of the points that I bring into it, I can't actually discuss because they are from the backer forum and only from the backer forum, and that is still under NDA. I'm not actually allowed to divulge that. Now don't get me wrong, I could just redo the voiceover, take those things out, but I think by now the way I structured this discussion, I actually very much rely on these points because my opinion on it has shifted and warped a little bit, obviously, from various influences, and so now it's very difficult for me to go back to a position that I'm not actually holding anymore. And as such, my argumentation now kind of falls apart without these specific points. And in the light of this, I have decided that I'm going to can the healer discussion for now. I'm going to wait a few weeks until I have more information, or until some of that information has maybe made its way outside of the backer forum. And if all else fails, I'm going to wait till beta 1 releases and then talk about the healer system. The healer discussion is definitely coming at some point because I think it's very important. But right now, I just think without those specific points that I want to talk about, my argumentation is super weak. And as such, it's just going to end up in a discussion that I can't win because I can't use those specific arguments, which makes the entire video a little bit pointless. And so instead, I have decided that instead of talking about the entire healing system, in this video I'm only going to talk about the empath, why I don't like it, and what I would improve about it, because all of those things I can talk about. There's nothing in there that is secret NDA information. Now, I definitely alluded to this in my video on the healer trio, but I can't stand the empath. The more I think about the empath in relation to the Tuatha De Danann, the more I absolutely dislike the design. First of all, the empath has absolutely no specific discernible connection to Celtic mythology, folklore, or Celtic society in general. In fact, it is the only class in the game that doesn't even have a historical connection or any sort of relevancy in loosely connected stories. The concept of the magical, self-sacrificing empath who takes over the suffering of others is very much akin to a Christian concept, martyrdom. The problem with this is that different cultures have different things that are important to their societal growth. Different traditions, different creeds, different moralities. All societies have differences, and they are very much formed in part by religion. I know that nowadays it is a very popular notion amongst atheists to say that religion is all about gods and nothing else about it matters, and it doesn't work without the gods, but in reality, religion very much forges societies. That is why when Germanic tribes and Celtic tribes were Christianized, their entire societal structure changed. Because suddenly different moralities, different creeds, different traditions took over and replaced the old ones. Now, I'm not saying this is either good or bad. All I'm trying to say is that martyrdom was not a central thing in Celtic society or religion. The only tie between martyrdom and anything to do with Celtic anything is Wicca. Wicca and other disciplines who call themselves neo-paganism have always chosen a little bit of a more esoteric, hippy-dippy sort of approach And those brands of neo-paganism don't actually have that much to do with wanting to be a pagan or wanting to change yourself. Instead, they are basically fabrications. And not just that, they have been fabricated by Christians with Christian viewpoints, Christian upbringings, and Christian sensibilities, who didn't like or enjoy the darker parts of pagan religions, which are definitely there, and instead chose to cut those parts out and then mix and match from different religions until it fit their hippy-dippy worldview. And in these disciplines that call themselves neo-paganist, empaths are indeed a thing, just like crystal healing and hand reading and druid tarots and a whole other bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with Celtic religion, society, mythology, folklore, or anything else pertaining to the Celts. But that's not even my only concern. I actually find the design to be a bit of a mess. If they are these shining martyr figures who in glorious displays of self-sacrifice take the pain and the suffering of the poor and downtrodden onto themselves, then what the hell do they need the simulacrum for? Doesn't that kind of defeat the entire point of self-sacrifice if a poor simulacrum has to suffer in your stead? Furthermore, what does a simulacrum have to do with empaths or Celtic, well, anything? Simulacrum just means a thing created as an image of another thing. And the term was coined less than 300 years ago in the 18th century. For example, the terracotta army, homunculi, gargoyles, golems, Frankenstein's monster, and even robots. These are all simulacra, because all the term means is creating something that looks kind of like a human. So there's really no connection there to an empath, and there's also no connection to Celts. And even if I could accept that it has no root in mythology, folklore, or history, and that the design is a bit jumbled, I can still not accept how very out of place this design feels in the faction. The Tuatha Dé Danann design went so harshly in the direction of Halloween Town that self-sacrifice and martyrdom and all these hippy-dippy values make them seem like a clown at a funeral. And I haven't even mentioned yet the mechanical woes that I have with this class. I've played many a game with PvP and health transfers are never good. Simply because they create a situation where by healing people, you are creating more damage that has to be healed. This may be true in a sense for all healing in Camelot Unchained because of how the blood system works, but being the only class that doesn't just have to worry about blood, but also has to worry about health, will simply add a layer of extra work. And let's be honest, how much more powerful than the others can they be when healers are already supposed to be really powerful? And now at the end, so that I don't get accused of criticizing a system without giving an example that I personally think would improve the situation, here's a very basic draft of a healer class that all the healers I talked to liked more than the empath, that is very much based in Celtic mythology, and that also has a darker theme so that it fits better with the other classes in the faction. Now in this document I'm still calling the class Bodachan Sawail, but the name doesn't actually really fit the system I came up anymore. I just kept it because I couldn't think of anything better, and I thought having a name was better than not having a name. But anyway, basically I have themed this class after the god of healing in Irish mythology, who has really cool stories and quite interesting dark themes associated with him. If you want to learn more about Dian Cecht and his children Miach and Ermid, I would encourage you to go and check out Donkey Class Reveal number 9 on the healers, because in the section about the empath I actually take the time to talk about Dian Cecht and the stories about him. So the Bodachan Sawail is a stance-based healer and he gets 3 stances. The basic stance that you will always begin in is themed after Dian Cecht. And it only features minor healing abilities, but it does give you some interesting shielding abilities, such as the ability to turn a limb of one of your teammates into silver, strengthening and hardening it, ignoring wounds for a short time and giving it extra armor. And there would be damage shield abilities in this stance and maybe even some blade turn. The other 2 stances are the advanced stances, both themed after his children. The first one is themed after Miach, his son, and has really strong and powerful healing abilities. Strong single target heals, group heals, heals on being hit, anything that you could imagine really, but they should be really good and efficient heals, because the basic heals definitely are weaker. The other advanced stance is themed after Dian Cecht's daughter Ermid, and Ermid was really good at herbal lore. So her stance includes cures, disease prevention, wound cleansing, maybe heal over time effects, and effects that restore blood. Basically anything that doesn't fall in the broad category of direct healing, which is Miach's territory, but is still really important to a healer in Camelot Unchained. Now the trick is that you can't spend all your time in these advanced stances, because every time you cast one of Mir's or Ermit's spells, Dian Kecht's jealousy meter rises. Casting Dian Kecht spells lowers both jealousy meters. Either one of the two jealousy bars ever fills up entirely, Dian Kecht is hit by a jealous rampage and takes over, locking down the stance in which you filled up the jealousy bar and forcing the player to be in Dian Kecht stance for a couple of seconds. The locked stance will be locked for several minutes because it should be really punishing when that event occurs. The entire point of the class is to switch stances often and use as many abilities from all three stances as you can. And to promote and reward good use of this mechanic, every time you lower jealousy while the bars are below 50%, it generates excellence for your character. Excellence is a pool of points that could slightly increase your spellcasting speed, or maybe allow you to switch stances even faster, but it can also be used up to reduce blood cost of your abilities to 0 for a while, and that amount of time increases the more excellence you have. Now, whether or not this class would be any good in the system or if it actually would work, I have no idea, because I'm not a class designer. Lastly, of course, I want to hear your opinions. If you have anything to say on this topic, feel free to write it down in a comment below, especially if you're a healer player. If you're a healer player, please let me know what you think of the healing classes, especially the empath. But if you just want to put an opinion out there about the other two, that's just as fine. Alright guys, and that is it for today. I will see you back on Sunday with the last class reveal, and from then on, every week or so I will have another video about Camelot Unchained where we'll do all sorts of topics, and I really hope that you'll stick around. But until then, I've been the CloakingDonkey, and I'll see you in another video.